One of the nation's leading intel experts is warning Congress that it must draw a red line to protect Bob Mueller before it's too late. Former Senator Bob Graham saying, quote, "I ran Congress's 9/11 investigation. The intelligence committees today can't handle Russia. They should act as if their investigations will be the final and possibly the only ones, because they may be." Now notice something there. That is the opposite of the conventional wisdom right now, which is that Congress can just take a back seat while Mueller runs the show. And legally, there's no doubt, Mueller has far more power to press witnesses, to get the goods. But here Senator Graham is making a broader point. With a president like Donald Trump, he argues, you can't assume there won't be inappropriate or even potentially illegal interference with Bob Mueller's job. So Graham is calling on Congress to devise protocols now to pick up where Mueller might leave off and to ensure access to all documents, transcripts, and materials amassed by the Mueller probes. Now, the warning is not just coming from any former senator here. Graham, the former chair of the Senate Select Committee on Intel, and as mentioned, the former co-chair of the congressional inquiry into the 9/11 attacks. He called for that investigation to be reopened to deal with Saudi Arabia's potential role in facilitating the attacks, alleging a potential cover-up and fighting for years to get key parts of that 9/11 report declassified. There's an ancient saying, sometimes attributed to Lao Tzu: those who know don't talk, and those who talk don't know. But when it comes to intelligence investigations, Bob Graham is someone who knows, and right now has decided to talk. Joining me now in a Beat exclusive is former Senator Bob Graham. Thank you for joining me.
All right, thank you very much. And before we start on your subject, I want to express my admiration for the people of America, the way they have come to the aid of the Houston residents who've been so terribly dealt with by Hurricane Harvey. And I would say Hurricane Irma is threatening to inflict maybe the same type of damage on our own homeland. I ask that you watch closely and be as understanding as you have been with the people affected.
Certainly, we appreciate that. We're reporting on that. I mean, we're here talking about rules and public service, and we've seen a lot of public service in the way people have responded to these tragedies. So I appreciate that. The subject of your piece and the reason why you're on here in this exclusive is you're talking about protocols, things that should be set in motion now in case Mueller's fired. What do you mean?
My concern is that Bob Mueller's position is tenuous. We've seen the number of attacks against him personally, against the Attorney General, against the Deputy Attorney General, and the possibility that Bob Mueller, might be removed from office is not fantasy. My feeling is that the Congress, should that occur, is going to carry a very heavy burden to gather the information that will tell the American people what happened and lead the effort to make those reforms that'll be necessary.
And your call here, you're sort of putting out a roadmap, and I want to put up on the screen part of what we know Mueller has been coordinating and thinking about. Under the U.S. Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, as you know, grand jury materials, typically secret, can be requested by these local prosecutors if there's a state law violation, something that got a lot of attention last week. And you write that the same grand jury materials should be a roadmap for Congress. Do you think this is something on the mind of the special counsel, that he's acting fast now so that Congress can take over all this stuff even if his investigation is somehow kneecapped?
Well, I'm concerned that it's on the mind of some people who don't want this investigation to come to a full conclusion, and they might be looking for ways in which they can deny to Congress the information that Mr. Comey and Mr. Mueller have developed. So I'm suggesting that before that happens, that there be an understanding that all of the information that has thus far been gathered will be made available to the congressional committees so they can take on this much heavier burden from a high point of development of the evidence.
Let me play for you some of what the allies of the president have said when pressed on this key point of whether there could be further tampering or obstruction.
Will the president promise not to interfere, not attempt at any time to order the Deputy Attorney General to fire Robert Mueller?
Look, the president of the United States, as we all know, it's a unitary executive. Now, I'm not going to speculate on what he will or will not do.
I think he's considering perhaps terminating the special counsel. I think he's weighing that option.
Does that mean that firing the special counsel is something that's on the table for this president?
I've answered this question several times before. Although the president has the authority to do so, he doesn't intend to do so.
Number one, the president, under the rules, doesn't have the authority to unilaterally fire the special counsel without cause, so a misstatement there at minimum. Number two, how does this kind of reaction and pressure compare with what you faced, as we mentioned, on the 9/11 inquiry? Is this about the same or worse?
It's much worse. We never had any threat that our investigation was going to be cut short. I will say there were a number of instances where we struggled to get the information that we thought that we needed. Most of those we eventually prevailed. But what's happening now is beyond the pale of anything that has occurred in Congress trying to understand and to make recommendations on a major national crisis, which I consider Russian meddling into our democracy to clearly be.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.